Before we get started, this video was a request by one of the wonderful Subscribestar bros. We're kicking the new year off with some classic Kino, primo shit. It's time for fast cars and loud guns.
Bounty Hunter, Larry Vincent. で、私はミニー・メイ。以後よろしくね。
That's right, Gunsmith Cats. Something that's actually gotten more attention as time has gone on. Not sure if a big YouTuber talked about this or news about it came out, but a lot of people have been requesting Gunsmith Cats lately. For good reason too, because it's fucking awesome. So Gunsmith Cats is the action comedy series created by Kenichi Sanada, who's worked on a ton of cult series, like Gal Force and Bubblegum Crisis. The story follows two bounty hunters who operate in Chicago. You have Riley Vincent, a firearms expert who runs a gun store as a cover for her real job, and her partner May Hopkins, also known as Minnie, an explosives expert and former prostitute. The two work their way through various jobs, leading to all kinds of chaos as they jump from one criminal organization to the next. Now, Gunsmith Cats is not the biggest series out there. It had like 8 volumes, but altogether came to about 76 chapters. So not really the biggest compared to a lot of other manga series. Even City Hunter has more. And City Hunter is a pretty good series to compare Gunsmith Cats to, as both have very similar vibes. Both are about a duo of not quite detectives getting into gunfights and solving mysteries, though there are some major deviations. City Hunter was a product of its time, drenched in 80s style, specifically Japanese 80s, and it feels almost like their version of Miami Vice, though more lighthearted and fun. Gunsmith Cats feels much more in line with like a 70s buddy duo type story. Plus, the setting takes place in America. Riley and Minnie bounce off each other in a way that feels very familiar with people who enjoy classic detective media, so it's almost like a Starsky and Hutch tribute more than anything. There's even an emphasis on the car the girls drive, a Ford Mustang Cobra GT500. It's sort of like their signature car, and there's a lot of focus on it, which pushes the Starsky and Hutch comparison further, though they drove a Gran Torino. Still, Gunsmith Cats is all about the fun, over-the-top style of crime story. The bad guys are almost always two-dimensional shitbags that only like money and hurting people. The episodic style of storytelling where each adventure is basically self-contained, it knows exactly what it's doing by emulating this style. Kenichi himself even admits that movies like The French Connection and Blues Brothers were major influences, and it was a way for him to kind of gush about his love of action films and firearms, since the guns in the manga were drawn from various magazines and even replicas he owned. And there's actually a funny story regarding how he even came up with Gunsmith Cats in the first place. When it started, it was a series made out of spite. Not even joking. Sanada was working on an anime series known as Riding Bean. Riding Bean followed a courier who followed various criminal organizations and worked alongside his gunslinger partner, Riley Vincent. Yeah, this is the prototype for Riley that we know. Sanada had serious disagreements with one of the production companies involved, Toshiba EMI, who handled the music. When he left, Riding Bean was still owned by the studios AIC and Artmic, so even though he wanted to continue it, he had to remix everything into new forms, which is why Riley is now the protagonist, also no longer blonde, is instead a mixture of Indian and English, and Bean Bandit, the former protagonist, is now a recurring side character that's either a hero or villain depending on the story. So really, this is all off the back of a failed OVA. Gunsmith Cats from the word go is just meant to be fun though. The series is very over the top and crazy, the characters are charming, and Rule of Cool dictates every single detail. It's got a cult following for a reason, which is probably the best way to describe the manga. Now, the series was adapted into a 3-episode OVA sometime in late 1995. This is a self-contained deal, it never references plot points or story beats. Instead, the cast, beyond Riley, May, and their assistant Misty, are all anime only. And that's fine since the OVA was essentially a glorified commercial for the manga anyway, and a thing to note is that the OVA doubles down on the lighthearted nature even more so, to the point that people that only know about the OVA could be pretty damn surprised at how grim the manga can get. Like unironic pedophilia and torture levels of grim. Goldie is a fucked up villain, enough said. Still, the OVA isn't completely toothless. It includes its own fair share of violence, but it shies away from anything that could scare away general audiences. In true classic anime fashion, manga gave zero fucks, while the anime had to watch out not to go too far, since parents could cry about it at PTA meetings. Now, the OVA is probably more famous than the manga, at least in some regards. It's well known as an example of the benefits of hand-drawn animation, since the action in Gunsmith Cats is very detailed and very smooth. The characters have very fluid motion, even things as hectic as a car chase have a lot lot of detail and attention put into them. Oh, by the way, a lot of the sounds you hear in the anime are actually recorded from the team themselves. Stuff like the Cobra is recorded from one they actually got, and they also even went as far as going to Chicago themselves so they can kinda get references for the anime. Even got to visit a police station and shoot guns. Obviously there's a lot of stock sounds mixed into it, but still, that's a fun little detail. Now the gunfights, while not anything that would put John Wick to shame, are definitely cool as hell to watch. As stated, it's not as hardcore as what the manga could get at times, like Raleigh blows off limbs with a fucking shotgun in the manga, but the anime keeps it more PG-13. You'll see blood, but disfigurements are off the menu, which sucks because that's the cool part. Also, Minnie sucks a guy's dick, I'm not even joking. Still, the action in Gunsmith Cats is a large chunk of the appeal. It is an action story after all. So if you're somebody that loves badass chicks in Japanese media, you love your Resident Evil girls, Regina from Dino Crisis, Bria from Parasite Eve, this is something you're probably already well aware of. In a lot of ways, it sort of feels almost like a proto-Black Lagoon. It doesn't go as crazy, but it definitely is unashamed of its love of psychotic women with guns. And it's actually kind of funny that Gunsmith Cats managed to keep such a loyal fanbase considering how small the franchise really is. It only got 76 chapters before it ended, and the OVA is the only adaptation it ever got. It eventually had a sequel in 2004, Gunsmith Cats Burst, but that only lasted for 5 volumes, so it's just something that, while not forgotten, definitely faded from the spotlight. Once again, contrasting City Hunter, which had a ton of adaptations and anime movies, even a still continuing sequel with Angel Heart, all to this very day. Granted, not every franchise needs to last forever. Some should come to a conclusive end so it doesn't suffer the zombie Simpsons syndrome, where you get exhausted seeing it and just want over with. Still, you can do more with this series. It's a tribute to 70s style detective shows, with 2 marketable poster girls as the face of the series. Granted, if they did a reboot anime that followed closer to the manga, well, it still wouldn't exactly go further anyway, because there's not much material to work with. Still, I think it would do well. It could be a fun passion project or something like that. Regardless, I'd love to see Gunsmith Cats come back in some form. It is just a fun series, one that really embodies the classic vibe of old school anime and manga. It's something that a ton of people follow and keep up with, even after all the years since it's ended. Hell, one of the guys who requested this video sent over an entire care package to the PO box, including an art book, cards, a volume of the manga. It was nuts, and all because he loved the series that much and wanted to show off. I can't recommend this highly enough, both the manga and the OVA. Sorry that this video isn't as long as some others, but there really isn't much to discuss without giving away large chunks of the story, and I don't want to do that. You guys should just sit down and go through Gunsmith Cats. You can do it in a weekend. And all I will say is, if they ever do a reboot or some way, make the Russian chick canon. I beg you. She was great. It was buckets of fun, and even if the ending is a letdown, like, holy fuck, why'd they keep that one character alive, the absolute worst possible one to keep alive? It does more than enough to be a journey all on its own. And who knows, maybe a new studio can pick up Gunsmith Cats and bring it back to life. I'd love to see this return. Maybe do like what City Hunter did and have a pseudo remake movie that takes place in modern day. That'd be cool. Regardless, we have the OVA and we have the manga, and that's more than enough to recommend for now. But I gotta call it here. Sad to say that there's just not much to squeeze out of this, and I don't want to just sit here and explain the series page by page. It's fun as hell, and I don't want to spoil the reveals. Still, if you're gonna bring in the new year, have a sick as hell show to sit down and do it with. Welcome to 2024, people. It's about to get crazy. Until next time, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys.
Fuck you!
Hey, loser. Do you want a shirt? Do you want a t-shirt? I have shirts now. Look in the description for a link to a t-shirt you can buy. If you don't buy the t-shirt, I'll kill your family. If you don't buy the t-shirt, I'll poison your dog. If you don't buy the t-shirt, you're gonna be the only person in town that does not have a t-shirt. Everyone's gonna look at you funny. There's gonna be social consequences to not having one of these t-shirts. I'm now making express threats of violence against you if you do not buy my t-shirt. I will call the police, tell them how you're not buying my shirt. They're gonna plant crack in your house, and they're gonna arrest you and then beat you up in a jail cell. Buy my shirt.